welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, where sports and culture connect. Listen, I am so not into conspiracy theories. Now, we know, of course, that certain things are conspiracy theories until they're no longer conspiracy theories. Nonetheless, I'm not into conspiracy theories, but I did notice something and it got me thinking. I'm talking about the Indiana Fever's preseason schedule. I say schedule as if they really have a schedule rather than 2 games, which, like last year, as I said it last year, that is so not ideal to just have 2 preseason games. Be that as it may, it is what it is. And who will the Indiana Fever face in the preseason? The 2 games? Take a look. So here we have this preseason schedule. It's funny because when you look at it right here, it's like 2025 preseason schedule. You think you're about to see a schedule and you're about to see 2 games. So the first team Indiana will play is the Washington Mystics. That's Saturday, May 3rd, 3:00 p.m. And the second game will be Saturday, May 10th. So they get a week. And that will be 3:00. And that one's against Atlanta. Our preseason schedule is set. Here's a better look at it. Okay. 2025 preseason schedule. There you have it. So, Mystics, Atlanta. So what are you talking about with this conspiracy theory, Adrienne? I'm so glad you asked because remember Sheila Johnson just did an interview with CNN in which she talked about Caitlin Clark being named Time's Athlete of the Year. She said that Time should have made the cover for all of the WNBA because of women of color, blah, 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 blah. You know the story. Don't want to go through all that again. But she suggested that Caitlin Clark alone did not deserve it and that her getting it is going to create people getting their feelings hurt, basically. It's just absurd, outrageous, and everybody with half a brain has called that out and recognizes it, even if they didn't call it out. So I find it interesting that the fans have pointed out, how are you talking such nonsense when you get, I think it's 31% of their attendance? And you can, do the check me on that, fact check me on that. I think it's 31% of their attendance came from playing the 2 games against the Indiana Fever. Even Caitlin Clark's brother pointed out how much the Indiana Fever helped out Washington. They have, that was the highest, historically, it was historic. It was the highest attendance of any WNBA game. I believe it was the last game of the season. Of course, that was against the Indiana Fever. So fans, obviously, and people who probably aren't fans are just outraged about what Sheila Johnson said about Caitlin Clark, basically saying she didn't deserve it. It's been a whole big thing. And people are like, I predicted that she would apologize. So far, she has not done so. So I find it interesting that this is the first game of the season. Now, maybe this was set even before Sheila Johnson's comments, but that doesn't change anything in this maybe conspiracy theory. Is it possible? I mean, just a thought. Is it possible that they are doing everything possible in the WNBA to keep things going, to keep drama going so that people will tune in? People want to see that game. They're already talking about that. They're already saying, oh, can't wait to see them destroy her team, etc. Is it possible I'm just saying that you build up this hoopla. It's a horrible way to do it. I'm just saying you build up this hoopla. People are emotionally invested, and then they become financially invested, or they become invested as viewers, and boom, you've got more talk about friction or rivalry, so-called, or whatever. And then you keep that attention going and you build as they're trying to build a league. I mean, think about it. Indiana Fever is playing the Chicago Sky 5 times, which is absolutely a whole lot of times. But they're trying to play on this, so-called rivalry. Then you get to the second game. The second game of the preseason is against the Atlanta Dream. Now, remember, the co-owner of the Atlanta Dream is Montgomery, Renee Montgomery, who said concerning Caitlin Clark's fans, they not like us. And, Caitlin stands and the whole thing. And people were outraged about that. Interesting that that's the other game of the preseason where you're trying to make sure you've got the interest and the attention and the viewership. So you've got 2 people in ownership of teams in this league who ran their mouth with some ridiculous stuff about Indiana and got people riled up. And those are your 2 preseason games. Just kind of wondering if this is, I don't know, if this is something that is planned or if they're just saying, well, it's happened, so let's just roll with it. I don't know. It's just a thought. The other team where players were running the same script pretty much about Indiana, well, they wouldn't be on the schedule because there are only 2 preseason games anyway. And the coach of that team is now the Indiana Fever coach. But other than that one, the other 2 running their mouths the most are on the schedule to face the Indiana Fever in the preseason, knowing that lots of people are going to be interested in how that turns out. Did they make the comments with that in mind, or did they set the schedule with that in mind, or is it just straight up conspiracy theory on my part? What do you think? Just my thoughts. Again, none of this may be true. I'm not saying it is. I just find it interesting. That's all. What do you think? Weigh in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. I'll catch you next time, God willing. God bless you abundantly.